Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Jeff Oliverio, and let's queer up trans rights. California Governor Gavin Newsom facing backlash on comments over trans student athletes. California Governor Gavin Newsom is under fire from queer advocates after comments he made about transgender student athletes on the debut episode of his podcast, This is Gavin Newsom. In a conversation with far-right figure Charlie Kirk, Newsom called transgender women competing in sports, quote, deeply unfair, end quote, echoing language commonly used by conservatives opposing trans inclusion. LGBTQ advocacy groups, including Equality California and the Human Rights Campaign, swiftly condemned his remarks, calling them a betrayal. During the interview, Kirk pressed Newsom on the issue, and the governor responded, quote, "It is an issue of fairness. It's deeply unfair. I revere sports, so the issue of fairness is completely legit," end quote. LGBTQ leaders argue that these remarks fuel anti-trans rhetoric at a time when attacks on trans rights are escalating. California lawmakers in the LGBTQ caucus also rebuked Newsom, with Assemblyman Chris Ward and State Senator Carolina Menjivar stating they were profoundly sickened and frustrated by his words. A spokesperson for Newsom later defended his record on queer rights, pointing to his efforts to protect gender-affirming care and inclusive policies. However, activists insist that these comments undermine trans youth. Gavin Newsom is, I believe, throwing things into the wind to see what sticks, to try to solidify his space in a national election to become potentially a presidential candidate. I think, especially on the Democratic side, this is not going to fly. If you're not going to stand by the tenets of inclusion and, what you were once what you were once for or currently for within your state, and now you're already seeing that Republicans are jumping on this to kind of push the issue to ban, trans participation in sports in the state of California, which I could only imagine what a kind of outrage that would cause if he is to do that. And, it's at a time when, is this the headline that you want to launch your national campaign on?
No.
Again, on the standing of like where this lands for votes and where this lands for, we all know that, it is a very divisive issue. And the polling on it is may or may not be in favor of winning a popular vote.
Right.
But on the flip side of that, standing by having a backbone and having morals to me is more important than anything, and that doesn't get any votes, in my opinion.
And what the fuck is Gavin Newsom doing talking to evangelical and white inferiorist Charlie Kirk, the pride of Prospect Heights, Illinois? Perhaps this terrible misstep is the result maybe of an untreated STI he caught from Kimberly Guilfoyle, his ex-wife.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Here are a couple of, other than the issues we've pointed out already, a couple things I have a problem with here. What did he say? Call it deeply unfair? Was it deeply?
Yeah.
And the other one, he reveres sports. You're using far too strong of an adjective for what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And on top of that, shut up. It's not for you to talk about. It's not for you to try and solve. The people who need to be having this conversation, we're not listening to. Right? We have politicians out there with white supremacists telling us what we should think about this. Right. No, let's talk to a panel of trans people and figure out what's going on. Let's talk to their healthcare providers who know how this is affecting people.
Exactly.
Let's see what that's all about. But we won't do that. We'll sit down and call it out for political reasons.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing